A lot of you may know us. I'm looking at the long list of attendees that we have today. I've either met you, talked to you, maybe at ILTA or Elite's Vantage conferences, maybe the ALA meetings. And we also have a very large contingent, it seems, of some of my clients, some of the iTimeKeep clients. And it's really good to see you guys. Thanks for tuning in and learning what's new. Even though you've already implemented mobile time entry for your firm, we are going to talk about some of the new exciting things that we have coming out here in 2015. God, we're already almost 6 weeks into 2015 with Valentine's Day being tomorrow. Let me get up the first slide here. I'm showing screen 2. I'm showing them on air. It seems like we're good to go. So again, my name is John Kuntz. My email address is down below, just simply john@bellefield.com. And if you want to get a hold of me after this, you can either email me or I'll show my cell phone number at the end. Yes, I do show my cell phone number. Please feel free to call it. I love to talk about what we do here. So before we discuss anything about implementing mobile time entry, and what you're going to learn here today is not just about implementing mobile time entry, it's really implementing anything at your firm, some of the rules and thoughts and psychology of how to get attorneys to follow the path that you're trying to take them down, and even to really maybe take a second thought at some of the technologies you're considering. So the first, again, we're talking about mobile time entry. The first thing we want to understand is why. And this is a worldwide problem with time entry with every breathing timekeeper. It's not just specific to legal, it's just worse than legal because you bill more aggressively, the rates are higher than consulting and accounting and things like that. But so why is your firm losing time? Are the attorneys to blame? Are we automating procrastination with time capture tools? Is it because the firms do not promote, enforce, and enable contemporaneous time entry? I'm going to tell you the answer is yes, yes, and yes. So first we need to take a look at the actual attorneys and kind of get into their head a little bit. So strap on your seatbelts, and if you are squeamish, you may want to look the other way. We're going to take a stroll through the minds of the attorneys and understand the various different types of these creatures. And if you have any other types that come up in your mind is after you see this, please email me them, and I'd love to understand those that are working at your firm. But you probably have many of these at yours. First we have is the focused attorney. They always have their blinders on. It's law, law, law. That's all I can do. I practice law. Completely focused. Anything else is extraneous effort, and they will not partake in it. We have the super busy attorney. I have to get this contract out. I have an emergency pleading. I'm late for a depot. I'm running my wife to the doctor. My house is on fire. There's no way I can possibly get any of my time in. And then we have the efficient attorney. I hate our system. Who in the world designed this piece of so-and-so? It takes me 20 minutes for Citrix to start. I wish I was a programmer. I could build this the right way. I'm sure you've heard that. And one of my favorites is the creative attorney. I have a better method and has worked for me for 10 years. I type my time in Word, upload it to my assistant, who can then manually enter the time for me. It is a perfect method. It has worked for years, and I wish others would follow my example, and the world would be a better place. That's kind of my Obama impersonation there a little bit. And then we have the reconstructive attorney. These are the guys and women that look through hundreds, if not thousands of emails at the end of the month. They scour their calendar. They search for tiny slips of paper in various pants pockets, dressers, and cup holders in their cars, probably with coffee all over them. I have heard firsthand of attorneys actually reviewing other attorneys' pre-bills or pro formas to see if they were in the meeting with them. Can you imagine that? But you hear from them, I know, I'll get better next month. Little do they know, they're spending the most time, usually upwards of 5 or 6 hours a month, just to record their time. And they're the ones leaking the most because it's not contemporaneous. This could be costing them from 60 to 100 hours a year of them just sitting down and trying to forensically fabricate their time, as I like to say. We have the experienced attorney, a.k.a. the silverback, a.k.a. the curmudgeon. I've been doing my pink slip time entry for 25 years. Why in the world would I change now? What I like to say to them is that we do not have to rub two sticks together to create fire. There really is a better way. What they do not know here is that sometimes the writing is illegible, indecipherable, and there are up to 6 interactions back and forth with the assistants or secretaries just to get one time entry in. It's not efficient whatsoever. And we all have the hopeful attorney. These are usually the young ones who are starting to learn the bad habits. Next month I'm going to start writing my time down as I do things every day, I promise. And they're also known as the recalcitrant. And here's the newest species, the Bellephobiac, found predominantly in litigation, defense law, and IP. There are so many rules. I am a lawyer first. How can I possibly do my job and remember all those rules? It's up to you to remember those rules. I am a lawyer. So pretty much every firm I talk to, it includes our 800 firms worldwide, still are operating on some inefficient method of time entry. And again, we have over 800 firms worldwide using iTimeKeep, so we've learned a lot from these firms. And we have a couple hundred that are joining the ranks over the next half a year or so. And they have some type of time entry policy in place, or at least some semblance of a policy. And I always like to ask my firms, what are your theoretical and practical policies? Because there's always something in writing, and then there's something that the attorneys actually follow. Unfortunately, enforcing these policies is a never-ending battle, and the good guys, you, are falling way behind. How many of your firms have annual management or partner retreats, and I'm sure you just went through those, where the direction of the firm is decided for the upcoming year? The retreaters come back energized, full of great ideas, but just like New Year's resolution, everything turns back to status quo in very short order. Same thing, same result every time, right? So which are you? Which are your time entry policies, and why are you doing the same thing and getting the same results? And there's a really famous guy out there. He's known for his bagel places, but he's also known for saying insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting the same results is nuts, right? So we need to be disruptive. If you really want to have change in your firm, you have to be disruptive and you have to have a new way. So which one are you, and what are your policies? Daily? Seriously? I have several firms using iTimeKeep that have daily, or they're due. The time's due 2 o'clock the next day, 4 o'clock the next day, and the reason I have seriously in there, it's almost impossible to comply. It actually becomes inefficient because they have to stop their day wherever they are and figure out how to put their time in and get it, log in VPN Citricton, which is just ridiculous, especially when they're running around. Weekly, and some attorneys will get penalized if they don't. The policy is weekly, but in reality, time needs to be out on the second day of the following month. We have strictly enforcing the end of the month, and then we have those that don't have any policies. So why do your time policies keep failing? There's many, many different reasons, but in the end, it's common sense, right? Wouldn't you agree? It's not the attorneys don't get it. They do get it. We all get it. The thing to remember here, folks, is that common sense does not equate to common action, and it happens in your life every day. Would you be surprised if I told you that smoking leads to cancer, that we should exercise daily, that we should eat less red meat and more vegetables and fruits? We should do good for others. There's a really good book out there called The Happiness Advantage that I really recommend that you all get, and it's Sean Achor, A-C-H-O-R. He poses the question, but does this common knowledge of making things any easier? And he answers, of course not, because in life, knowledge is just part of the battle. Because we all know we need to do these things, but we always go back to our mainstream habits. If this was true, attorneys would all put their time in daily, right? They know they need to, but they don't. Why is that? At the end, it will make you the firm more profitable and the attorney more successful. So we at Bellefield have written a number of articles which you may find on our website under blogs and news. Not sales stuff, but this is really in-depth, getting into the heads of attorneys. I highly recommend you go to bellefield.com, go under blog and news, and read the things we've been posting. We're probably the most prolific legal poster in this type of knowledge base that you'll find. And it highlights a lot of these highlight the importance and excellence of good habits. Good habits are hard to sustain, as you and I all know. Attorneys, like all normal humans, are creatures of habit, and they find comfort in that, comfort in habit, even if they know it causes inefficiencies and lost revenues to the firm. How many of you have already abandoned your best intentions of your New Year's resolutions? Well, probably a lot, because we're 6 weeks out. Usually, I think they last typically 3 weeks. So Sean Achor says that habits are like financial capital. And we're going to bring this all around to implementing mobile. You need to understand this first. Habits are like financial capital. Forming a good one today is an investment that will automatically give out returns for years to come. So what about habits? Habits are formed with practice. You've probably heard the term "practice makes perfect." If any of you are golfers, you know Phil Mickelson. He works with the best short game coach in the world, David Pelz, and David Pelz just pounds the thought that practice makes for perfect, because habits form because the brain actually changes in response to frequent practice. You do it the same way you're going to do it when you're in play all the time. You might say that, well, attorneys lack willpower to change their habits. That's absolutely wrong. They don't at all whatsoever. You might, and I'll say that emphatically, they don't. So poor technology I'll change that. Poor technology is the problem. You know your billing interfaces are difficult, right? They're written by programmers. Attorneys, with the speed at which we do things, we're a more impatient society than we've ever been. If you're on an app and you wait, we'll be talking about this in a second, if you're on your app and you're waiting just a split second and it's for some reason churning with that little circle, you get frustrated. If the interface is not intuitive and conducive to time entry, you don't want to do it. In remote access, that's a laugh. Because we only wait a second on our apps, are we going to wait a minute or two for something to connect just so we can bill a 0.1 or bill a couple time entries? No, because the attorneys would rather be practicing law. So let's bring this home and talk about how we can make change where no changes become before. So I'm going to introduce you to a new concept, and the concept is called activation energy. Activation energy is the amount of effort we need to put in order to get started with an activity or task. A lot of this is going to be common sense, but this all comes from the Happiness Advantage book. The more activation energy that is required, the harder it is to get started, which all makes a lot of sense. Something's harder to do, you're less likely to do it. Take your remote control for your TV, for instance. You come home, plop your butt in your favorite chair, and turn on the TV with your remote that's right there. What if we remove the batteries and put them in a kitchen drawer away from your chair? It takes a little more effort or activation energy to zombie out for a couple hours in front of the TV. This is exactly what the author of The Happiness Advantage did. He wanted to learn to play the guitar. So he got a sheet, put 7 rows of squares by 3 columns, and for 21 days he was going to practice the guitar. At the end of the 3 weeks he came home, looked at that, and there was only 3 X's on it, and he was trying to figure out why. So he did an experiment. He did take his batteries out of his remote, because what he was doing was sitting down and watching TV versus practicing the guitar. He did put the batteries in the kitchen drawer, but he put the guitar next to his Lazy Boy. Same experiment, 21 boxes. 3 weeks later, he came home. He had 21 X's because it took less activation energy to grab the guitar and more activation to turn on the TV and to zombie out. And that was the impetus of the book, actually. So what if we can lower or almost eliminate the amount of activation energy it takes for a given task? This is where, in his book, he talks about the 20-second rule. I know you all are familiar with the food dropping 5-second rule, but this is a little different. Here the rule is to lower the activation energy for the habits you want to promote and increase the activation energy for those that you want to avoid. In the previous example, that's exactly what the author did. Lowered it for the guitar, raised it for the TV remote, and it worked. But it's important to note, every additional choice people are asked to make, and we're asking our attorneys to think about this with your technology that you're promoting within your firm and what you're asking them to do. You're loading them, but we only have so much room. Every additional choice people are asked to make, even if they are small, depletes our energy a little further until we just don't have enough to continue with the positive energy habit we're trying to adopt, which means we have a limited amount of activation energy. Now you kind of hold your hand up to your head. I'm done up to here. So this is pretty interesting. So these 3 guys have something in common. And what they have in common is they wear the same clothes every day. So still Steve Jobs might be wearing that forever, but he always wore the mock turtleneck. Mr. Zuckerberg, the hoodie. And Mr. Obama really has a limited number of suits that he wears, so he doesn't have to make a decision. What that does, it lowers their decision-making process. It lowers their activation energy and allows them to have energy for what's important in their lives, which is hopefully running the country and the important things he's doing, and also running their businesses. So, mobile time entry. Especially mobile time entry must follow the 20-second rule. Actually, when you think about it with applications, the 20-second rule is too long. Here at Bellefield with iTimeKeep, we are looking for our activation energy to be 5 to 8 seconds. Think how quick that is, 5 to 8 seconds to enter time. And just In that little bit of time, you can create a time entry and be finished. Contrast that with what they are doing now and the huge amount of activation energy that's required. No wonder all of you have a house full of terrible timekeepers. It's like staring, like I'll travel for a week. I travel a lot giving ILTA, speaking for ILTA and the ALA and doing CLE classes. And I come home and I have a pile of laundry. And I just sit dejectedly and stare at it. If it was a small pile, which would take less activation energy, it wouldn't be so much. It's the same thing. Even with your garage, you have a very dirty garage, you're less likely to clean it. If it just needs touched up, you might do it. So we all know that contemporaneous time entry, recording time at the time of service while still fresh in our minds, is the only method of truly accurate time entry. Time capture is where additional software is installed everywhere on your firm, either the copiers, you name it, they install software in it, with an intent to predict attorneys' activities and to aggravate activities. Oops, we just logged out there. Hold on one second. There we go. There we go. Sorry about that. So we're talking about time capture and where you install a lot of software to aggregate, and later the attorneys get a report with all this information to sort out and review. What do you think the activation energy is to start the process each and every time? It's a lot more because you have a big report versus contemporaneous time entry. If you can get some type of matter affirmed to where your attorneys can enter their time contemporaneously, a couple seconds, you're more likely to do it, and it becomes a habit. So with iTimeKeep, we've introduced the limited activation energy, not only for attorneys, but for all that touch it. So for attorneys, obviously, you have ease, and I'll show you this in just a moment, ease of use, entering time in just a few seconds. It works on every device and every browser. Now this is any app you're buying for your firm needs to follow these rules. I'm going to go with a whole bunch of rules here for you, for not only for attorneys. Every device and every browser, because we are a BYOD society. So somebody's going to be working with an Android, somebody's going to be working with a Windows phone, etc. You need to have real-time integration with your time and billing system, whether it's Elite, Elite Enterprise, 3E, VTE, Carpe Diem, Adderant, whatever it is you're using. What you don't want to buy, ladies and gentlemen, is a Nordic track. In the 1980s, I spent a lot of money at that time for me, $800 on a Nordic, $799 plus shipping for a Nordic track. It looked so good on paper. I was going to be the svelte character that I always see in my mind that I wasn't, and started to work with it. Within 1 week, I'm hanging my clothes on it. This is so important. If you follow these rules, you won't be buying Nordic tracks for your firm. Think about that every time you look at a new technology, a new vendor comes in, and they're espousing what's going to happen. If they can't prove to you that adoption will be high because of the ease of use with the attorneys, run the other way. And it's more than just the attorneys. There needs to be activation energy for IT. IT only has so much time, right? So there needs to be no additional software or hardware to buy, and that's important. So what we've done, we've taken time entry and coined a phrase, time entry as a service. Now, if you sit back and think for a minute about music, you used to buy, well, I did, I'm a little older, I used to buy vinyl records, 8 tracks, cassettes. I had some reel-to-reel too at one point, and then we went there's something bigger than CDs at some point, or is that for movies? Then we went to CDs, right? But now what do? We have Spotify, we have Pandora, we have Sirius Online. It's music as a service. We don't buy music anymore. We use it as a service. Think about your law libraries. They're gone. They're gone. There's dinosaurs in there. Now, when we want to do research, we go online to something we've subscribed to. Research as a service. This is where we're going as a society, and as a technology. This is today's technology. You don't want to buy something where you have to have servers, where it takes a lot of professional services to roll this out. We've thrown that out the window, and that's where we have time entry as a service. It needs to be secure, reliable, and scalable, and it needs to obviously back to the first case where we give the attorneys something they want. And then for finance, only that they have so much activation energy. We're looking for better compliance of the rules. Contemporaneous time entry, obviously, that's the only way to most accurately enter your time. You minimize time leakage, you're increasing your revenues. Your interim pro formas are now more accurate, which is almost a joke trying to run a pro forma mid-cycle because the time's not in. And of course it's not in because the habits of the attorneys are to be a reconstructionist. So Enter time entry as a service. And this could be enter anything as a service. You should be looking at subscription models for almost everything you're doing. And it needs to be user-centric. The attorneys don't have to be bogged down with the complexity of useless features. Don't buy things that are the Swiss Army knives that does everything. Especially with apps, they need to be very, very focused. Imagine yourself walking down the streets of a busy city like New York City and using the app. The attorneys are using the app. They need to be able to use it very easily. And by the way, if you guys have any questions as we do the demo here in a minute, please pop them up there. Simplicity, obviously, that's a no-brainer. Welcome to the world of less is more. No longer drawn out multi-day or multi-week implementations. And I'll say it again, apps attorneys want to use. Zero overhead's important. The way we've structured, do everything possible to ensure that adopting our solutions comes at no additional internal cost or resources to your firm. The BYOD, it needs probably the same experience whether it's on iPad, iPhone, Android, Windows Phone, Blackberries, or any web browser. The attorneys have the power to enter their own time from wherever they are, and always up. Time entry must work from anywhere 24/7. So any technologies you're implementing obviously needs to work 24/7. And then we have the very easy way to implementations, which is almost unheard of. Have you ever implemented something in an hour? We implement an Aderant firm in 38 minutes, Elite WebView in about an hour and 10 minutes. Depending on the sizes, but they're all within less than 2 hours. It's unheard of in the firms of your size. So we have a short kickoff meeting, your prerequisites. Our prerequisites are one line. How many times have you gotten prerequisites for whatever you're doing that's a 20-page manual? Oh my God, no. Think of the activation energy it takes to kick off that project. Ours is literally one line. We need a little space on a server that has .NET 4.0 on it. You got that, we're cool. We have a very short install and training because our app needs very little training. We do offer training, and you have in-house training. And onboarding the attorneys takes very little time. So I'm going to show you two things here. I'm going to show you iTimeKeep as it sits today, and I'm also going to show you how iTimeKeep enables real-time compliance. We've just announced a integration, well not just, it's been out for a while, integration with eBilling Hub, where you can bring your compliance rules down to the device level. Think about that. You bring your compliance rules down to the device level so the time entries that are being submitted to accounting are much cleaner, much more accurate. Takes a hell of a lot less time to turn into an invoice. Very exciting stuff. And then we've also have an integration with a lot of other mobile applications. WinScribe, for instance, which is a digital dictation app used worldwide. So if you're using a digital dictation application away from the office, now you have a way to enter your time and actually get paid for the work the attorneys are doing. And we've offered a free API to any other legal vendor that's out there with a some type of legal mobile app. So let's take a little ride through what iTimeKeep looks like. And what I want you to do is compare that to the other apps that you're considering bringing into your practice, and they should comply with a lot of these rules and thoughts. So you can, if I can get it up, there we go, yay. So there's my iPhone. Let's make it bigger. So here's my iPhone 4, here's my iPhone 5, here's my 6, here's my 6E, that's whatever that is, the real big one. So there's the big iPhone. You can download iTimeKeep for free from the Apple Store, or you can go to the Google Play Store and download it, and you can do exactly the same demo I'm showing you today. And I challenge you to download it, launch it, do the same demo. It takes 60 seconds. Show it to an attorney and look at their eyes and see if it's something that they would think about, and ask them if there's any way that this could be done in an easier manner. So you see the iTimeKeep icon down on the bottom left. I'm going to launch it. So since you're not a subscriber, you can touch login as a guest down at the bottom. What that is going to, I believe we're running an instance of Elite with WebView here, but whether it'll look the same whether it's Aderant, Elite WebView, Carpe Diem, DTE, 3E, you name it. We have 31 different integrations with billing systems. The first time that you launch it, we say hi, give you a nice welcome screen, and now we need to add time. If the attorney has to think when they're adding time or using my app, I have failed. We put a lot of time and effort into making it so they don't think, because that's how we change habits. So you see a plus sign in the top right. I'm going to touch the plus sign. It jumps to the add time screen. It's big, it's large, it's plain, and there's big fonts, so you can be walking down the street without your glasses. So there's no data on my phone. When I touch that word that says matter, it's going to go out to my instance of WebView and bring back the matters I've worked on in the last 30 days. And here's a little hint. There's 3 matters here, Staffy versus Kuntz, 3, 2, and 0. What the 3, 2, and 0 means is kind of a little cheater for us. It says one has 3 UDF codes, one has 2, and one has 0. So let's pick the 3 because it's pretty darn cold. It's about 12 degrees here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I want to go someplace warm. So Staffy versus Kuntz 3, we'll leave the data today. Let's say I just got off a 12-minute phone call with a client. We need a task code. We need an activity code, and these are coming right out of your billing system. And we need a location code, and I'm going to Los Angeles. It's warm there. Now we need a description to finalize the time entry. I touch the word description. A keyboard pops up very handily. I can type something in. But like every attorney in the world, I love the sound of my voice, so I wanted to use dictation. You see the microphone down next to the space bar. Reviewed client email regarding settlement period. It's 12 degrees here in Pittsburgh. I want to go somewhere south, exclamation point. Save. Now we have one unsubmitted time entry. I'm going to do one more. Plus sign. This time something just cleared conflicts and I'm in China. And I know that KEL is in it, so obviously it's not going to be in the recent matter list. So I'm going to type KEL in the top, Kilo, Echo, Lima. And remember, you can do this same demo. Continue search on server. I have 500,000 matters in my database, and in less than a second it searches those and brings back what matters, and it honors whatever ethical walls you have built in your system, just like you've signed in your time and billing system. I'll go to Jesco in the middle, and I know that one doesn't have time. This is very fast. I don't know how attorneys can live without it, period. Save. I want to submit these entries. These entries are now in your billing system. Doesn't get much simpler than that, does it? So just to prove to you that it's 12 degrees here in Pittsburgh. I hope it's warmer wherever you are. Oh, it's up to 13. We have a heat wave. So then we have the iTimeKeep. Oops. Let me show you the iTimeKeep that integrates with eBilling Hub. So this is what you see. I already preloaded in. We have that welcome to iTimeKeep again. Okay, don't show me this ever again. Let's do that. Plus sign. Okay, I said don't show me that again. Plus sign for a matter. I'm going to type in, I know my matter is Bellefield. Oh, not Bell, B-E-L-L. I'll just put in a short B-E-L-L, Bellefield e-billing. Datus, I'll leave the datus today. Oops, I said today. Hours, 0.2. Done. Task code, activity code, and there's a little shortcut. I know that RD is a shortcut for research and development. Oops, I thought it was. Maybe it's not. Let me put research. Research and development. Done. Done. I'm not going to put a long line, so I want that word research in there. My entry has been sent to my billing system. So what it's going to do, it's going to go back to the billing system and it'll validate it. And something's wrong. I've got a red. If you don't, yeah, it's already up here. It's lagging a little bit. So in the entry, I have a red dot telling me you did something bad. And I touch it. E-billing error. I touch that. You can't use the word research. So that's what we're doing with time entry. If you want to, and you can bring this down to maybe not all your attorneys. You want to bring it down to maybe it's just for certain matters, certain attorneys, certain rules. Not all. I wouldn't. Never recommend bringing all rules or your attorneys are going to run for the high hills. And that's the way that iTimeKeep works with eBilling Hub. And that's just the start. It also works in landscape mode. Let me come back here, start my. So you just saw it in action and what action it was. And that's the webinar for today. My name is John Kuntz. How long did we take? 30 minutes exactly. My name is John Kuntz, 412-596-0289, john@bellefield.com. If you have any, we have questions. John, your product and presentation are very good. I couldn't have written that better. Thank you, Fabian. You can send me your presentation. I need to share with the firm for, sure, absolutely. Actually, can you give me a call, 412-596-0289, or send me an email? I'd be happy to. Yes, the DTE shorthand codes come. We need to see how you have that set up. You type period, and then I forgot to type period maybe. If the first time entry you enter is via the device as a new onboarding attorney, does it show up as a recent matter? Yes. If you put as soon as you use one, it's now a recent matter, both here and in the recent matter list of whatever your billing system is or time entry system is. Do we integrate with DTE? Every day. That takes about an hour, no more than an hour. We have a beautiful DTE integration. Literally all of our integrations. I have one, the CIO of Warden Smith called me and said, this was easier than installing, and even though we do it, he was part of it, he watched, this is easier than installing a printer on a workstation because it's already packaged. If you do you support the following platforms? We support BlackBerry 10s, we support iOS, we support Androids, and the Windows is coming out very shortly, the Windows Phone. Actually, the Windows Phone is starting to gain some pretty good traction. We think they're going to go somewhere. Will this work with QuickBooks? It does not work with QuickBooks. We will be coming out with a standalone version at some point, but we're just so darn busy. Probably this year, we're calling it iTimeKeep Freedom, where you have to enter your matters into our portal, and then it'll pull you out some time. But the beauty of iTimeKeep is because we're in 2015, if any of your time systems are batching and you have to some type of synchronization or any of that nonsense, you need to start thinking quickly about updating it to what's current, and that's where time entry as a service comes in. I don't know what Syn Compass is, Julie. If you could give me a call, very easily it could. I'd love to talk to you about that. No, it doesn't work with the legacy BlackBerries, Catherine, and the reason being is the technology embedded in those are behind the times. And you knew that little speed bump that they had before the Q10 and the Z10 came, Z10 from Canada, the Z10 came out. They really did a whole refresh of their technology, and so they can work with products like mine. What if you have a format that incorporates a semicolon and also includes point 2 as a time description? It will, depending, Sally, on your system. Give us a call, and I'd be more than happy to see how you're doing it now. 99 times out of 100, we can accommodate what you're doing now. I just need my implementation team just needs to understand it. The issue of having to release time in our billing system, is that a limitation of the host system or iTimeKeep? So let's talk about that for a minute. And the question is, having the time going in is released or unreleased, finalized or unfinalized. When we install iTimeKeep, I try to be as undisruptive as possible. We don't want to change the workflow too much. Typically what happens with our firms is they enter time at some point, then they finalize that time and bring out an opportunity to review it. So with iTimeKeep, what we're doing, we're augmenting the method that they can enter that time. So wherever they are, honestly, I have probably thousands of attorneys with iPads at their desk because they can use the dictation feature. They're using it as a second or third monitor, and it's just always on to iTimeKeep, and it leaves their monitors free. And I might have failed to mention, we also have a browser version. So I'm on a Mac right here, so I can log into desktop.itimekeep.com from any browser anywhere in the world, and it's just an extension of what we're doing on the mobile devices. So to bring back to that question of going as finalized, we try not to be as disruptive. Depending on your billing system, you can have it go in as finalized. That's probably, I think we might have 1 or 2 firms that do that, and they may be both very large consulting firms because they like that other check. Maybe the assistant is going to take a look at the time before they finalize it. Thank you for the smile, Catherine. What is the cost? Well, it costs about $30,000 to $50,000 per attorney per year not to use it, and we're a heck of a lot less than that. You can figure about a 0.1 of their time a month, depending on how many licenses you buy. So remember I said that we wanted to be disruptive in this market and how we treat our clients as a vendor. So we don't charge a lot of professional services ever after the installation, which is minimal. You never have another professional service fee from us. We don't come in and look at you and say you have to buy a license for every seat. That's crazy, because what's going on now with social networking, you go onto the ILTA boards and you ask about us, you're going to hear some really good things. All of our attorneys love it. That's because maybe they only bought it for 60% of the firm, or maybe they bought it for 100% of the firm, and we want to make sure you guys are happy. The cost is minimal compared to them putting in 1 to 2 hours more per week using iTimeKeep than they did with their antiquated Fred Flintstone system. Is there a calendar view so they can see what time has already been entered? Yes and no. Because of the limited real estate on the phones, even though the iPhones are bigger and the Androids are bigger still, when you get a calendar on there, it looks really small, and you have to squint. We don't want to turn any squinting. So we aggregate the time by day in a chronological manner. We are looking at adding this year calendar views to the desktop version. I think we absolutely are going to add it to the desktop version and the iPad version, where you have more real estate and it makes sense. The dictation is stored in Siri and can be hacked. Any suggestions? Well, it's not stored in Siri. It goes through Washington, D.C., or servers in North Carolina if you use Siri, if you use the Android. So what I tell my firms is I have some pretty big time firms using iTimeKeep, Wachtell Lipton. I have some of the top IP firms in the country. I have the only IP firm that works with both, the only law firm in the world that works with both Google and Apple is one of my clients. So they're pretty particular about what about their security, right? You know, you figure Wachtell, they're doing billion-dollar mergers. They're pretty specific. I tell my firms, if you allow Siri for text messages and emails, then there's no reason not to do it for iTimeKeep because of the benignness of the descriptions. What you're putting in emails is a lot more significant. Please briefly narrate best practices for rolling out iTimeKeep. Sure, David. Very simple. The first thing we do when we engage with a client is we have a kickoff meeting. I want to understand your culture. It takes about a half hour, 45 minutes. Your culture, I want to understand, my team wants to understand what else you've rolled out and the successes and failures that you've had. Then we share with you, with the over 800 clients we have worldwide, the successes and failures that they have brought to us on what they've done, and then we suggest to you what's worked virtually every time with a rollout. Sometimes it's a like Ackerman Centerfit down in Florida. It was a complete rollout. Sometimes I'll recommend to you, depending on your culture, we do it more in small bits and pieces, maybe with influencers first, and it's more what I call a pull, where they're asking for it. So adoption is paramount to us, and when you engage with Bellefield, that's just the beginning of a relationship. Every one of my firms has a dedicated success manager. We're giving you the reports on a monthly basis. We're working with you. We're talking to you about programs that others are using that have been successful. Actually, that's when the fun starts, is when we get to start getting into the heads of the attorney. And I'd love to have an offline conversation with you about that, David. Is there a local on-device voice recognition solution? I'm not sure. I know that the Androids are local, if I'm not mistaken. Are you going to share the webinar as a recording? I believe my colleague did record it, and we'd be more than happy to share it with you. If you could send me an email to john@bellefield.com, or give me a call on my cell phone. I always like to talk to you. I live and breathe this stuff. You can tell I get a little excited about it. Be more than happy to share the results of the, or share the recording of the webinar. So I think that's the last question. If you have any other specific questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you about what your specific needs are and learn what you've done and about your successes and failures with time entry. And if you have another species of attorney that I didn't mention, please put on your thinking caps and let me. If it's funny, I definitely want to hear about it. Thank you, everybody. Have a happy Friday, happy Valentine's Day, and I hope wherever you are, you guys are warm. Take care.